The grain stalks bent sideways in ways that made no sense. Owen Bridger watched from his porch as the wind patterns shifted every few seconds, creating spirals that defied normal weather behavior. He had farmed on Verdant Ridge for 15 years and never seen anything like this. The sky held three different colors at once: purple clouds mixed with green lightning, while orange streaks cut through both. His weather monitor had stopped working an hour ago, the screen showing nothing but static and error messages. Every other farmer in the valley was probably seeing the same thing. Owen secured the barn doors with extra chains. His equipment shed got the same treatment. The livestock were already inside, nervous and making sounds he rarely heard from them. Animals knew when something was wrong. The air tasted metallic and made his teeth ache. Rain started without warning, not the normal kind that built up gradually, but sheets of water that appeared as if someone had dumped an ocean overhead. The drops hit hard enough to sting exposed skin. Owen retreated to his covered porch and watched his fields disappear behind curtains of water. The communication terminal in his kitchen crackled with fragments of messages. Other farmers reporting damage. The colony administrator trying to coordinate responses. Then nothing, just dead air and static. The power flickered twice before settling into emergency mode. Owen ate a cold dinner standing at his window. No point in trying to cook when the power might cut out completely. He watched the storm tear across his land and thought about his wife. She would have found this exciting somehow, would have been taking measurements and making notes. 3 years gone, and he still expected to hear her voice commenting on unusual phenomena. Something crashed near the barn, metal on metal, loud enough to hear over the storm. Owen grabbed his heavy coat and a flashlight. Probably a piece of equipment had come loose. He would need to secure it before it damaged something else. The wind nearly knocked him down. The moment he stepped outside, rain soaked through his coat in seconds. The flashlight beam barely cut through the downpour. He pushed toward the barn, using the guide rope he had strung between buildings for exactly this kind of situation. Another sound cut through the storm, not metal this time, something living, something in pain. Owen changed direction, following the sound to the storage shed on the east side of his property. The door was open, banging. The wind, he had definitely locked it. The sound came again from inside the shed. His flashlight beam found the creature huddled in the corner behind bags of fertilizer, small body covered in scales that reflected the light in rainbow patterns, wings folded tight against its sides, membranes torn and bleeding, eyes that caught the light and showed intelligence and terror in equal measure. Not an animal, a person, a child. The creature made a sound like breaking glass mixed with bird calls. Its body shook with cold or fear, or both. Blood matted the scales along one side where something had injured it badly. Owen had no idea what species this was. The galaxy held thousands of sentient races, and he had only met a handful, but he knew a hurt child when he saw one. He knew fear and pain. Regardless of what shape it wore, he removed his coat slowly, speaking in a soft voice, even though the creature probably could not understand his words. Tone mattered more than language when dealing with scared animals. Maybe it worked the same with scared alien children. The creature did not run when Owen approached. It watched him with those huge amber eyes and shook harder. Owen wrapped his coat around the small body as gently as possible. The creature weighed less than he expected, all delicate bones and lean muscle. Getting back to the house took forever. Storm fought him for every step. Creature stayed quiet against his chest, occasionally making small distressed sounds. Owen kept talking nonsense words of comfort, the same tone he had used with injured animals over the years. His workshop was attached to the barn. Insulated and warm, Owen set up a space near the heater with old blankets. He brought water in a shallow bowl. Medical supplies meant for livestock were all he had, but basic first aid worked the same across most species. Clean wounds stop bleeding, prevent infection. The creature watched him prepare the space. When Owen gestured to the blankets, it crawled over and curled up, never taking its eyes off him. Trust and suspicion mixed in that gaze. Owen cleaned the wounds as carefully as possible. The creature flinched but did not pull away. The torn wing membranes were the worst damage. He had no idea how to treat those properly. He did his best with antiseptic and bandages, working slowly and talking the entire time. The fever worried him most. Heat radiated from the small body even after Owen got it dried and wrapped in blankets. He brought more water and was relieved when the creature drank. Dehydration could kill quickly. Around midnight, the creature finally slept. Owen settled into a chair nearby, too wired to rest himself. The storm continued to rage outside. His farm was taking a beating, but that felt secondary now. He had an injured child in his workshop and no idea what to do next. The communication system was still dead. No way to contact anyone for help or advice. The creature stirred, occasionally making sounds in its sleep that might have been words in a language Owen did not know. He found himself thinking about the family he had never had. His wife had wanted children, but the illness came before that could happen. Now here he was, responsible for a child anyway, just not in any way he could have imagined. Dawn would bring answers, or at least questions he could start trying to answer. For now, he kept watch over the sleeping creature and listened to the storm slowly exhaust itself against his little farm at the edge of human space. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the workshop walls and touched Owen's face. He jerked awake, disoriented for a moment before remembering everything. The creature was sitting up in the nest of blankets, watching him with those bright amber eyes. In daylight, the child looked even more fragile, scales ranging from deep blue to silver covered most of the visible skin. The wings were folded against a thin back, bandages stark white against the colorful scales. A long neck ended in a delicate head, with features that seemed almost designed to express emotion. Right now, those features showed caution mixed with curiosity. Owen stood slowly, keeping his movements predictable. The child tracked every motion but did not retreat. He pointed to himself and said his name clearly, then pointed to the child with raised eyebrows. The creature made a sound like wind chimes, tried again with a different combination of tones. On the third attempt, it produced something that sounded like Ren if Owen stretched his interpretation generously. Ren, Owen repeated, pointing to the child. The small head bobbed in what might have been a nod. Communication established, however basic. Owen felt relief wash through him. He showed Ren the food he had brought, simple items that seemed safe: fruit, bread, water. Ren examined each item carefully before trying small bites. The fruit disappeared quickly. Bread was sniffed and rejected. Water was consumed in large quantities. The sound of vehicles outside interrupted their breakfast. Owen looked through the workshop window and saw 3 colony transports parked near his house. Administrator Wentz climbed out of the first one, followed by several security personnel. Owen met them at the front door before they could enter the property. Wentz was a nervous man on good days. Today he looked ready to panic. Your communication was offline all night. We came to check on you. Wentz peered past Owen toward the workshop. Did you survive the storm? All right. Farm took some damage, but the buildings are sound. Owen kept his body blocking the doorway. We detected an energy signature near your property. Might be debris from whatever caused that storm. Wentz tried to move past Owen. Need to investigate for safety reasons. One of the security officers caught sight of Ren through the workshop window. The child had come to look outside and was clearly visible in the morning light. The officer grabbed WZ's arm and pointed. What is that? WC's voice went up an octave. A child who needed help. Owen kept his tone level. That's a Dracons backed up several steps. Do you have any idea how dangerous they are? Their species has territorial conflicts across 3 sectors. They're classified as high risk contact. That's a hurt child who was dying in the storm. Owen did not move from the doorway. You need to turn it over to Colonial Security immediately. Wentz was already pulling out his communicator. This is beyond your authority to handle. No, the single word stopped WZ mid-dial. He looked at Owen as if the farmer had suddenly grown a second head. This is not negotiable, Owen. That creature is a potential threat to the entire colony. It needs to be contained and studied. Then we contact the proper authorities to deal with it. Her name is Ren. She is a child and she stays with me, too. Security officers moved forward. Owen stood his ground. Behind him through the window, Ren made a sound of distress. The officers hesitated. I will call a colony council meeting. Went back toward his vehicle. They will override you on this. You're being unreasonable. Call whoever you want. The child stays protected. The vehicles left in a spray of gravel. Owen returned to the workshop to find Ren pressed against the far wall, wings partially spread in a defensive posture. He sat down slowly and waited. After several minutes, Ren crept forward and settled near him, still trembling. Owen spent the afternoon trying to communicate more effectively. He found his old tablet, the one he used for placing supply orders. It had basic translation software for common trade languages. He spent hours trying different language families while Ren watched with apparent fascination. The breakthrough came when Ren started arranging objects from around the workshop, small tools, pieces of equipment, scraps of metal. The arrangements formed patterns, mathematical sequences, star charts. Owen recognized navigation patterns when he saw them. Years of space travel before settling on Verdant Ridge had taught him the basics. Ren was using universal mathematical concepts to communicate with the tablet, translating Ren's gestured concepts and Owen's spoken words. Actual communication became possible, slow and frustrating, but possible. Ren's family had been traveling between systems when the energy storm hit. Their Ship broke apart in the atmosphere. Escape pods launched. Ren had no idea if anyone else survived. The child was 8 cycles old, which the tablet suggested was roughly equivalent to a 6-year-old. Human family, Owen asked using the tablet to translate. Ren's response took several minutes to translate properly. Draken family. Structures were complex. Parents, siblings, extended clan members who all traveled together. Ren described them one by one using terms of endearment that the tablet struggled to capture. Human language. The colony council arrived just before sunset. 12 people crowded into Owen's small living room. Administrator Wentz presented his case. A Drakeni child represented a serious potential threat. The species was known for aggression and territorial behavior, keeping Ren unsecured in danger. Everyone in the colony, several council members agreed immediately. Others looked uncertain. Owen waited until Wentz finished before speaking. That child is 8 years old. She survived a shipwreck that probably killed her entire family. She's injured, alone, and terrified. I found her dying in my shed during the worst storm this colony has ever seen. Owen looked each council member in the eye. I'm not going to throw a hurt child into a cell because adults of her species have political problems. It's not about politics. W's voice was strained. It's about safety. We don't know anything about Draki children. What if she's dangerous as she grows? What if her family comes looking for her and decides we're enemies? Then we deal with those problems when they happen. Owen stood firm. But we don't punish a child for things she hasn't done. The council voted 7-5 in favor of allowing Owen to keep Ren under supervised custody. He had to report daily on her condition and behavior. Any sign of danger would result in immediate transfer to secure containment. Owen agreed to the terms. After everyone left, he returned to the workshop. Ren was still working on her star charts, trying to show him where her family had been heading before everything went wrong. He sat beside her and helped arrange the pieces. Dawn had brought complications he had not expected, but it had also brought something else, a purpose beyond simple survival, a reason to protect and care that he had not felt. In 3 years, 2 weeks changed everything in ways Owen had not anticipated. Ren's wounds healed faster than expected, the torn wing membranes knitting themselves together with proper care and rest. Fever broke after 4 days. Communication improved daily as both of them learned to work with the translation tablet. Owen converted his guest bedroom into proper living space for Ren. The child needed higher temperatures than humans, so he installed extra heating elements. Draken slept in short cycles rather than one long period, so Owen adjusted his own schedule to match. The farm work continued, just with different rhythms. Now Ren followed him everywhere during waking hours. The concept of farming fascinated the child in ways Owen found endearing. Drachi were space dwellers, born and raised on ships that traveled between stars. The idea of making food grow from dirt amazed Ren completely. Plants just stay in one place, Ren asked for the 3rd time, watching Owen prepare soil for a new crop. That's how plants work. They grow where you put them, but how do they see new things if they never move? Owen had never considered that question before. He tried to explain how plants experience the world differently than mobile creatures. Ren listened with intense focus. Occasionally, making small sounds that the tablet translated as agreement or understanding. The daily reports to the colony council became routine. Wren's behavior, diet, health status, any concerns, Owen kept the reports factual and brief. Most council members seemed satisfied. Wentz always looked like he expected disaster. At any moment, the real complications started when the Dratch ships entered orbit. Owen was teaching Wren about crop rotation when his communication terminal erupted with emergency signals. 3 Dratch vessels had appeared in the system and were demanding information about lost family members. The colony administrator was requesting all available information about Wren's background immediately. Wren went very still when Owen explained what was happening. The child's scales shifted color slightly, becoming darker. Fear response. Owen had learned to recognize. Do you know these ships? Owen asked. Carefully. Wren worked with the tablet for several minutes trying to find the right words. Need to see their clan markings. Different clans are very different. The colony transmitted images of the vessels to Owen's terminal. Wren studied them closely, scales going even darker. The child made a sound like tearing fabric. Kraw's clan, they hunted my family. We ran from them for many cycles. Owen felt his stomach drop. Why were they hunting you? The explanation took a long time and required Wren to draw diagrams. Draken clans controlled different territories and navigation routes. Wren's family possessed knowledge of old routes that challenged Kraw's clan authority. Instead of sharing the knowledge, Kraw's clan tried to eliminate anyone who had it. My parents said it was about power, not law. Wren's voice through the tablet sounded small and scared. Kraw wants control of the old paths. My family was in the way. 3 hours later, a Draken landing craft touched down near the colony center. Owen received a summon to appear with Wren for questioning. He considered refusing, but that would only make things worse. He made sure Wren stayed close as they traveled to the meeting. The Draki warrior who met them was massive, easily 3 times Wren's size and built like living armor. Scales of deep red and black covered a frame that radiated controlled violence. When he spoke, the translator rendered his words with barely contained anger. I am Kron, leader and law enforcer. You harbor a criminal child who belongs to my jurisdiction. Surrender the young one immediately. Owen positioned himself between Kra and Wren. This child is under my protection and colonial law. You have no authority here. Draken law supersedes your colony regulations. The child's family violated territorial agreements. All family members are subject to clan justice. Kraw's eyes fixed on Wren, including offspring. She's 8 years old. What crime could a child commit? The crime is in the bloodline. The knowledge is in the blood. All must be accounted for. Wren spoke then directly in the Dratch language. Owen's tablet translated the words. The child was explaining exactly what had happened, identifying Kraw's clan markings, accusing them of persecution and murder. Kraw's response confirmed everything. His clan had been hunting Wren's family across multiple systems. The family had violated territorial law by possessing forbidden navigation knowledge. The child was property of the clan and would be returned to face judgment. Owen's response was simple. No, you challenge clan law. Kra moved closer, radiating threat. I challenge the idea that any law allows you to harm a child. For things her parents did, she's under human protection now. Your authority ends where my responsibility begins. Other colonists had gathered, forming a loose circle around the confrontation. Administrator Wentz was trying to cite various Galactic Council regulations about refugee protection. Kra ignored him completely, focused entirely on Owen. You risk much for something not even your species. She's a child who needed help. That's all the reason I need. The standoff held for long minutes, then a second Draki ship entered the atmosphere, transmitting different clan markings. Kra's expression shifted to something that might have been frustration. The new arrival was a female Draken, smaller than Kra, but carrying herself with equal authority. Her scales were silver and blue, similar to Ren's coloring. She introduced herself as Sella, representing a rival clan. I claim right of hearing under Galactic Council law. This matter involves multiple clan interests and refugee status claims. It requires proper tribunal, not summary judgment. Kra objected immediately, but Sella had already transmitted her claim to the Galactic Council. Within hours, official observers were being dispatched to Verdant Ridge. The tribunal would convene in 5 days. Owen took Ren back to the farm while various factions maneuvered for position. The child was quiet during the trip, processing everything that had happened. I'm sorry. I brought danger to your colony, Ren said finally. You didn't bring anything. You crashed during a storm and almost died. Everything else is politics between adults who should know better. Owen kept his hand on Ren's shoulder. We'll figure this out. That night, Owen sat on his porch long after Ren had gone to sleep. The lights of orbiting ships were visible overhead, different factions gathering for whatever came next. He had gone from simple farmer to center of an interstellar incident. In 2 weeks, his wife would have found this absurd and fascinating in equal measure. She always said Owen had a talent for finding trouble in unexpected places. He missed her perspective now more than ever, but he did not regret his choice. Ren was thriving despite the circumstances, learning and growing and showing personality that had been hidden under trauma and fear. The child deserved a chance at life beyond clan politics and ancient grudges. Owen would make sure Ren got that chance, regardless of how many Draki warriors he had to face down to make it happen. Dawn would bring the tribunal and all its complications, but tonight the farm was quiet and a child slept safely inside his house. That was enough. The Galactic Council Tribunal set up operations in the colony's largest building, a warehouse normally used for storing grain. Rows of seats appeared for observers. Translation equipment lined the walls. Representatives from a dozen species arrived to witness proceedings that would set precedent for refugee law across multiple sectors. Owen dressed in his best clothes, which were still just clean work pants and a pressed shirt. Ren wore a simple garment that Sella's clan had provided, appropriate for Draken formal occasions. The child stayed close to Owen's side, scales flickering between blue and gray. With nervousness, the tribunal consisted of 3 judges from neutral species, other Ramen with crystalline features that refracted light in complex patterns, a Washan whose multiple limbs allowed for simultaneous note-taking and equipment operation. Human judge named Phillips who looked like she wished she was anywhere else. Kra presented his case first. His family possessed legal authority over certain territorial roots, and the knowledge associated with them. Ren's family had stolen that knowledge and fled, violating clear agreements. All family members were subject to clan justice, including offspring who might carry the knowledge genetically. Sela countered immediately. Kra's clan had expanded their territorial claims, illegally attempting to monopolize roots that belonged to the common heritage of all Drashini. Ren's family had been preserving knowledge, not stealing it. The persecution was about power, not law. The arguments went on for hours. Technical details about navigation, roots and clan agreements, historical precedents from Drashin law going back centuries. Both sides presented evidence and counter-evidence in cycles that made Owen's head hurt. Then it was his turn to testify. Owen described finding Ren during the storm, the injuries, the fever, the terror in a child's eyes. He explained the past weeks of care and recovery, how Ren had learned to trust again, to engage with the world beyond simple survival. This child has thrived in ways that matter, Owen said plainly. She's learning, growing, showing joy in simple things like watching plants grow. She's a person with thoughts and feelings and potential, not a legal problem to be solved. Judge Phillips leaned forward. You understand the complexity of the situation. Multiple Draconi factions are involved, territorial disputes that predate human contact with this species, ancient laws and customs we barely understand. I understand that a child's welfare should come first, regardless of politics. Owen kept his voice steady. My species has a custom. When a child needs protection, you provide it, no matter where that child comes from or what disputes exist between adults, even at risk to yourself and your community. Especially then, because that's when it matters most. Ren testified next, speaking through the advanced translation systems the tribunal provided. The child described life on the family ship, constantly moving to stay ahead of Crow's hunters, watching parents stress and argue about which route to take next, the fear that colored every decision. My mother said the knowledge was meant to be shared, not owned, Ren explained. She said Kra's clan had forgotten the old ways when all Draki worked together. She wanted to teach others to open the roots to everyone's, and you possess this knowledge. Judge Phillips asked carefully. Some of it my parents began teaching me before everything happened. It's in my memory, in songs and patterns they made me learn. Ren's scales shifted to darker tones. If I go with Kra, he will take the knowledge and I will disappear. That's what happened to other families who opposed him. Kra objected violently to the accusation. Sela presented evidence of 3 other families that had vanished after Kra's clan took custody of them. The tribunal called for recess while they reviewed the materials. Owen and Ren waited in a small room. The child was exhausted from the testimony, curled in a chair with wings wrapped tight. Owen brought water and simple food, though Ren barely touched either. What happens if they make me go with Kra? Ren asked quietly. That won't happen, but what if the judges decide that Drach law is more important than your protection? Owen crouched down to meet Ren's eyes directly. Then we'll figure out another way. I made a promise to keep you safe. I don't break promises. The tribunal reconvened at sunset. All 3 judges looked tired. Philips spoke for the group. This tribunal recognizes the validity of claims from both Kra's clan and Sela's clan regarding Draki territorial law. However, we also recognize that Ren demonstrates clear indicators of refugee status under Galactic Council definitions. The child has reasonable fear of persecution from Kra's faction. Kra started to object, but Philips cut him off. The tribunal also notes unusual circumstances regarding the current guardian. Human customs regarding child protection and adoption differ significantly from Draki clan structures. The guardian has demonstrated commitment to the child's welfare beyond normal foster arrangements. Owen felt his heart rate increase. This could go either direction. Therefore, this tribunal proposes a compromise. Ren will remain under the protection of Owen Bridger as primary guardian. However, guardianship must be formalized under both human and Drake law to provide proper legal framework. Sela stood immediately. My clan offers to extend formal protection over both guardian and child. We will sponsor the guardianship under Dream custom, providing legal shield against Kra's claims. This is unacceptable. Kra's voice filled the room. Human guardianship of Draken young violates every custom our species holds. Then your species needs better customs, Owen said before he could stop himself. Silence fell across the warehouse. Every eye turned to Owen. He stood his ground. I've listened to hours of arguments about territory and clan rights and ancient agreements. Not once has anyone, except Ren and Sela, talked about what's actually best for this child. She's not property. She's not a vessel for knowledge. She's a person who deserves to grow up safe and happy. Judge Philips made a sound that might have been agreement. The Guardian makes a valid point. Galactic Council law prioritizes individual rights over cultural claims when those claims result in harm to minors. More arguments followed. Legal technicalities and procedural objections, but the core decision was made. Owen would become Ren's formal guardian under a framework that combined human and Drashini legal structures. Sela's clan would provide political protection. Kra's claims would be reviewed by higher galactic authorities. It was not a complete victory. Kra made clear he would appeal and continue pursuing his claims through official channels, but for now, Ren could stay safe. Owen and Ren left the warehouse together. As the sun finished setting, the child's scales had shifted to brighter colors, reflecting relief and cautious hope. Other colonists offered words of support. As they passed, even Administrator Wentz managed a grudging nod of acknowledgement. What does being a formal guardian mean? Ren asked as they drove back to the farm. It means I'm responsible for you officially, not just because I want to be. It means I have legal authority to protect you and make decisions about your care, like a parent. Owen considered the question carefully. Like a parent, yes, if that's okay with you. Ren's response came in the Dratch language, words the tablet translated as a formal acknowledgement of family bond. The child had just accepted him as guardian in the traditional way of their species. Owen felt something shift in his chest. The responsibility had always been there, but now it had shape and definition. He was not just sheltering a refugee, he was raising a child, his child, in all the ways that mattered. Dawn would bring new challenges. Kra would not give up easily, But tonight, Owen had a family again built from choice and commitment rather than biology. His wife would have approved. The formal guardianship ceremony took place 3 weeks later after all legal documents had been processed through both human and Draken channels. Sella's clan sent representatives who explained traditions Owen needed to understand. The ceremony would bind him to responsibilities that extended beyond normal human parenting. Owen stood in the colony's central square wearing ceremonial garments that Sella's people had provided. Dratch custom required specific colors and patterns to denote guardian status. He felt ridiculous in the elaborate outfit, but Ren's obvious excitement made it worthwhile. Ren wore matching ceremonial dress, scales polished until they reflected sunlight in brilliant patterns. The child had been practicing the traditional responses for days, determined to perform the ceremony correctly. Sella herself conducted the ritual, speaking in formal Drake that the translation systems rendered as ancient poetry about bonds and duty and protection. Owen repeated the required phrases, committing himself to Ren's welfare and growth. Ren acknowledged the bond with traditional responses that affirmed trust and acceptance. Representatives from a dozen species watched the ceremony. This was the first formal cross-species guardianship registered under combined legal frameworks. Observers took extensive notes. Legal scholars transmitted reports to their home governments. What had started as one farmer protecting a lost child was becoming precedent for the entire galaxy. After the ceremony, Sella approached Owen privately. Kra has filed appeals with 3 different galactic council committees. He will not stop pursuing his claim to Ren. I know, but we bought time and legal standing. That's something. It is more than something. You have shown the galaxy that species boundaries need not limit compassion. Sella's scales shifted to colors that her translator suggested meant respect. My clan will maintain protection, but you should know the cost. Kra has significant political influence. He will make this difficult. Let him try. Life settled into new patterns. Owen registered Ren for the colony school, which required extensive accommodations. For a Dratch student, teachers had to learn about different learning styles and physical needs. Other students were initially cautious, but Ren's enthusiasm and curiosity won most of them over. Quickly, Ren excelled at mathematics and spatial reasoning, abilities that came naturally to a species that navigated between stars. Language studies were harder. The child's vocal structure struggling with certain human sounds, but Ren's determination was relentless. Owen learned Drashni customs and traditions, studying materials that Sella provided. He discovered that his species and Rain's had more similarities than differences when it came to core values. Both honored family bonds, both taught children to contribute to their communities, both valued knowledge and growth. The farm became a gathering place. Other colonists brought their children to meet Ren, curious about the Draki child. Ren taught them about star navigation using the night sky as reference. The children taught Ren about Earth games and local customs. Barriers between species dissolved in the simple interactions of young people learning together. Then Owen received a message that changed everything. A research team investigating the storm debris had found an intact escape pod in a neighboring System, the pod's signature matched. Wren's family ship. Owen's hands shook as he read the details. The pod had sustained damage but retained basic life support. Whoever was inside had survived the crash. The team was attempting to make contact, he told Wren that evening after dinner. The child went completely still, scales cycling through colors too quickly for Owen to interpret. Then Wren began to shake, making sounds that the translator struggled to process, joy and fear and desperate hope all mixed together. Could it be them? Could they be alive? The team is working on it now. We should know more in a few days. Those days were the longest of Owen's life. Wren barely ate, distracted by constant speculation about who might be in the pod. Owen caught himself making the same calculations. If Wren's family had survived, what would that mean for their guardianship? Would Wren want to leave? The answer came via emergency transmission. The pod contained 3 Draki adults, 2 matched genetic markers for Wren's parents. The third was a sibling. All were injured but stable. They were being transported to Verdant Ridge for medical treatment and reunion. Wren's reaction was pure joy. The child ran through the house making sounds like singing, scales blazing with colors Owen had never seen before. Then reality set in and Wren stopped moving. What if they don't want me to stay with you? What if they say I have to go with them? Owen knelt down to Wren's level. Then we'll figure it out together. They're your family, Wren. They love you and have been searching for you, but you're my family too now. The ceremony made it official. Both things can be true. Love doesn't have limits on how many people you can care about. The reunion happened in the Colony Medical Center. Owen stayed back, giving Wren space to reconnect with family members the child thought were lost forever. Through the observation window, he watched Wren embrace the adults, all of them tangled together in a mass of wings and scales and obvious emotion. Wren's mother was smaller than Owen expected, with scales of deep blue and silver. The father was larger, colored in shades of green and bronze. The sibling was adolescent, somewhere between Wren's size and full adult proportions. After the initial reunion, Wren's parents requested to meet Owen. He entered the medical room with careful steps, uncertain of his reception. Wren's mother spoke first, her voice translated as formal and emotional. You protected our child when we could not. You gave shelter and care and safety. This debt cannot be measured. There's no debt. Wren needed help and I was there. Any decent person would have done the same. Not any person, many species would have turned a lost Draki child over to authorities without question. You chose differently. The father's voice carried weight of deep gratitude. The ceremony makes you guardian under law, but you became parent in truth before any ceremony existed. They talked for hours. Wren's parents explained their situation. They were still fleeing from Kra's faction, still unable to provide stable safety for their children. The crash had been caused by Kra's ships, forcing them into the storm. They had searched desperately for Wren, but lacked resources to conduct proper search operations. We want our child safe above all else, Wren's mother said finally. We want family together, but not at cost of Wren's security and happiness. The request came with tears and obvious pain. They asked Owen to continue as primary guardian to keep Wren safe on Verdant Ridge while they worked to establish permanent sanctuary elsewhere. They would maintain contact, visit when possible, remain family in all ways, except daily presence. Owen looked at Ren, who was curled between both parents, clearly torn between desperate desire to stay with them and the security of life on the farm. The decision should be Ren's, Owen said quietly. Ren looked between the parents and Owen for long minutes. When the child finally spoke, the words came in both Drake and human language, ensuring everyone understood. I want to stay with Owen, but I want you to visit and teach me our traditions. I want both families. Ren's mother made a sound like breaking glass, but her scales showed colors that meant acceptance and love. Then you shall have both. Your human guardian will raise you in safety. We will share our heritage and maintain our bonds. Arrangement was formalized over the following weeks. Shared guardianship under a framework that honored both Draki and human customs. Ren would live primarily with Owen, but maintain strong connections to birth family. It was complicated and unprecedented and required constant communication between all parties. But it worked. Ren thrived with the support of two families. Owen discovered that his capacity for love and family had not died with his wife, merely waited for the right circumstances to bloom again. Dawn came each day with new challenges and new joys. The simple farmer who had given shelter to a lost child during a storm had gained something he never expected, a family built from choice and commitment, spanning species and customs, held together by bonds stronger than biology alone could create. 1 year after the storm, Owen stood in his fields and watched 3 different species of children playing together. Ren was teaching 2 human kids and of the ram and youth about star patterns, though the ram and child's crystalline structure reflected the afternoon sun, while the humans took notes on tablets. Ren's wings had healed completely and now spread wide as the child demonstrated angular relationships between distant stars. The farm had changed in ways Owen could never have predicted. What started as a simple grain operation now hosted regular cultural exchange visits. Sela's clan had established a small embassy building at the edge of Owen's property. Other Draki refugees had arrived seeking sanctuary, drawn by news of the human farmer who protected lost children. Owen's house contained 3 permanent residents. Now Ren occupied the converted guest room. 2 other young Draki refugees from different clan conflicts shared the expanded workshop that Owen had rebuilt into proper living quarters. The Colony Council had finally accepted that Verdant Ridge was becoming something more than a farming outpost. Administrator Wentz had resigned 6 months ago, unable to handle the stress of managing an increasingly diverse population. His replacement was a former diplomat who actually seemed excited about the challenges. Trade agreements were being negotiated with multiple species. Cultural exchange programs were developing. The colony was thriving in unexpected ways. Ren's birth family visited every 3 months, timing their arrivals to avoid cross patrol patterns. The visits were always emotional, filled with teaching sessions where Ren learned Draki history and traditions, but Ren always seemed relieved when they left and life returned to normal rhythms. Is it wrong that I prefer being here? Ren asked one night after a particularly intense visit from the birth family. Owen chose his words carefully. It's not wrong to feel most comfortable in the place where you've built your daily life, you love your birth family, but this is your home. Both things are true and both are fine. The search for other survivors from Ren's original ship continued. Sella's clan had dedicated resources to systematic searches of the storm debris field. So far they had found 2 more escape pods, both occupied by extended family members. The reunions were joyful but complicated, each survivor carrying trauma and displacement. Owen found himself becoming an unofficial coordinator for Draken refugee placement. Other colonies requested advice on how to integrate displaced families. Galactic Council committees asked him to testify about cross-species guardianship frameworks. The simple farmer had become an accidental expert on interspecies relations. You could expand this into something bigger, Sella suggested during one of her diplomatic visits. Create a formal sanctuary program. You have proven the model works. I'm a farmer who helps people when they need it. That's not the same as running an organization. It is exactly the same. You simply need to accept the scale. Owen resisted at first, but as more displaced children arrived, he could not turn them away. The Colony Council eventually approved funding for a formal integration program. Owen remained primary guardian for Ren and 2 others, but helped coordinate placement for additional refugees. Kra continued his legal challenges, filing appeal after appeal with various galactic authorities. Most were rejected on procedural grounds. His clan's influence was waning as other factions presented evidence of persecution and territorial overreach. The knowledge that Ren's family had protected was being shared freely now, distributed to multiple Draken clans through Sella's coordination. The monopoly Crow had tried to maintain was broken. He made threats but lacked political leverage to follow through. Galactic Council observers maintained permanent presence on Verdant Ridge, ensuring no aggressive action could be taken against the refugees. On the anniversary of the night Owen found Ren, the colony held a celebration. Different species contributed traditional foods and performances. Children who had never met before the refugee program now played together without thinking about species differences. Ren gave a presentation about Dream Star navigation, demonstrating techniques that had been secret clan knowledge. Year ago, the audience included academics from a dozen species, all taking notes and asking questions. Knowledge was being democratized in ways that would have been impossible under the old clan system. Owen watched from the back of the gathering hall, feeling his wife's absence in moments like this. She would have loved seeing this, would have been taking measurements and making observations and asking questions that revealed insights others missed. She would be proud of you. Ren appeared beside him, scales showing colors that meant affection and understanding. Your mate would approve of what you built. Here, I didn't build anything, I just helped when help was needed. That is exactly what building looks like, small actions that grow into large changes. Ren's voice carried wisdom beyond the child's years. My parents say you changed Drashini culture more in 1 year than centuries of internal conflict accomplished. You showed us that knowledge should be shared, that children matter more than political power, that family is choice, not just blood. The celebration continued late into the evening. Owen found himself surrounded by people from different Worlds all connected by the simple idea that protecting the vulnerable mattered more than preserving boundaries. Later, after everyone had left and the colony had settled into night quiet, Owen sat on his porch with Wren. The stars overhead held different meaning. Now, each one represented potential, rather than distance, places where refugees might find sanctuary, worlds where children could grow up safe. Do you ever regret it? Wren asked. Your life was quiet before I arrived. Now it's complicated. Complicated is better than empty. Owen kept his eyes on the stars. I spent 3 years going through motions after your guardian mother died, existing but not really living. You gave me purpose. Again, reminded me that caring about others is what makes life meaningful. The storm brought me to you. Some of my birth family say it was fate, that the universe has patterns we cannot see. Maybe, or maybe I was just in the right place when someone needed help. Either way, I'm grateful for how it turned out. They sat in comfortable silence, watching ships move across the sky. Some were Sella's clan maintaining protective patrols, others were trading vessels attracted by the colony's growing reputation. A few were probably Kra's faction watching from distance, unable to interfere but unwilling to completely abandon their claims. Owen thought about the simple decision he had made during a storm a year ago, bringing an injured child inside instead of leaving it to die in the rain. That choice had rippled outward in ways he could never have predicted. Changed laws, shifted political dynamics, created new frameworks for how species interacted. But the real change was smaller and more personal. He had a family again. Children called him guardian parent. Multiple languages. His house was filled with sounds of life and growth. The farm fed more than just humans now. Crops selected to meet the needs of different species. Dawn would come soon, bringing another day of challenges and opportunities. More refugees would probably arrive. More legal complications would emerge. More cultural barriers would need patient navigation. But Owen had learned something important. Over the past year, the dawn always brought possibilities. Every sunrise was a chance to choose compassion over fear, protection over indifference, family over isolation. The storm that brought Wren had changed everything, but the real transformation came from the simple decision to shelter a lost child, to see a person instead of a problem, to extend protection without counting the cost. That was the human difference Owen had come to understand. Not superior technology or physical strength, but the willingness to recognize personhood beyond appearance, to build family from choice, to protect the vulnerable even when it was difficult or dangerous. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Wren leaned against Owen's shoulder and made a sound like contented purring, a child safe and loved, looking forward to another day of learning and growth. Owen smiled and watched the sun rise over his farm, over the buildings that housed refugees from 3 different worlds, over the fields children of different species learned together, over a small colony that had become a beacon of hope for displaced families across the galaxy. The dawn changed everything, but only because someone chose to give shelter during a storm.